Howdy folks, I'm Brian and here's some Reddit. Our first story is titled, Am I a Jerk for Telling My Boyfriend to Get Over His Deceased Bio Mom? I'm reusing this throwaway again to avoid connection with my main. I'm a 38-year-old female and I've been dating my current boyfriend, a 36-year-old male, for about 2 years now. It is very difficult for me to make long-term commitments like this because of issues I've had growing up and with past relationships. However, we've been making things work despite my baggage for the most part. My boyfriend has his own family baggage. To sum it up, without going into much of the nitty-gritty details, his biological mom left him when he was very young. They reunited about a half a year ago or so, and I guess things went well there. A little over a week ago, she passed away, and surprisingly, he's taken it harder than I expected. This is the first time I've seen him cry, and to be honest, I hate it. I've done my fair share of crying over the years, but I've grown past that phase, and in the present, I'm not sure I enjoy having that energy around. The energy of crying? Wow, that is brutal. Things got worse when he found out that his bio-mom's family would not let him attend her funeral. Because of this, he hasn't worked since to, quote, take his time to mourn. I've tried to talk to him about it, as I don't get why he's exhausting so much energy and effort to mourn someone who has barely been in his life. He's gotten angry with my reaction, but he does know I'm not fit to deal with what's going on at the moment because of my own experiences. Now it's been over a week, I've grown both worried and annoyed about the situation. I had to sit down with him and another friend 2 nights ago to talk to him. I'm not one to hold back, so I outright told him that he needs to get over the whole thing already and how it isn't normal to react this much to someone who wronged him so much. Our mutual friend wasn't expecting that, and to be precise, she completely failed to mediate the talk from then on. Sometime into our fight, he started crying, yet again. I was really uncomfortable and I outright demanded that he stop. He had to be removed from our home. He's been staying with our friend since then, and I've been really confused about how to approach further. Our friend has told me I was being harsh, but again, he knows how I am and how I deal with negative emotions. Still, talking with her further has gotten me thinking about how I handled things. So, some edit clarifying things. This isn't about my boyfriend's masculinity. The way he is acting triggers something in me. It brings me back to a dark place. That's the negativity I can't be around. My boyfriend has been my emotional rock for most of our relationships. This sudden shift in his attitude is also what contributed to my reaction to the whole ordeal. I'm not heartless. As I said, I've had a very rough way of displaying my emotions. Genuinely, I feel concerned about how my boyfriend is acting. I think there is some sincerity here, but I definitely think that they're in the wrong, so I'm not saying that they're not. The boyfriend has every right to mourn. Now, it's really good that he finally got to spend some time with his mother, and it sounds like the two really connected, and they grew really close over a short period of time. And 6 months, while it's not a huge amount of time, it's still enough time to get to know someone pretty well. And so I think it's really wrong to assume that he wouldn't feel close to his mom. Now, as for the family, I think the family who's outright telling him he can't attend the funeral, now that's a completely jerkish thing to do as well, and I can see why he would be hurt by that. Let's also now talk about the time frame. You're saying that this has been a week and a half, or a week or so. He needs his time and he needs his space. And if you can't give him that, then I suggest you get out of his way. Don't yell at him. Don't tell him to stop crying. Don't tell him to be emotionless, the emotionless, stable rock that you've relied on for your relationship. Relationships are about give and take, and in this case, it's your turn to show that stability that he's shown you. It may not be easy for you, and it might be hard for you to understand how to approach this, but he needs your love and support more than ever. So I guess at this point in time, I guess my suggestion would be this. I think you probably need to seek therapy. If this is triggering something in you, In the meantime, if you can't be there for your boyfriend, at least don't be in his way. Don't stop him from mourning, and try to be understanding towards his mourning process. This is kind of a bad situation all around. I'm sorry that this is bad for you, but I'm especially sorry for your boyfriend who probably wasn't expecting you to act this way. So again, I'm gonna have to say you're a jerk here, and pretty solidly a jerk here. So this first comment is basically saying that they're selfish. Yeah, your friend couldn't mediate the talk because she was probably in shock from hearing such a heartless statement from you. So I think that actually brings up a really good point here. The friend, if your own friend isn't able to get behind you here, I mean, maybe you should consider how you're acting here. People just aren't machines. They can't just move on, and they need love, support, and compassion, especially in times when they're mourning. Since they said they are using a throwaway account, as they did for another post, I've checked out that old post for more context. Holy heck, does OP need some professional help? You're the jerk, but unpack everything else. Please seek help first. Okay, so apparently this person's discovered something deeper within this. But yeah, like I was saying, I think that this person definitely needs therapy. I think they need to seek help and get over some things that are definitely holding them back in life. All right. Our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for asking my neighbors to watch my kids for their schooling? I will try to keep this brief as this recently happened. My area still has a lot of quarantine rules going on, so my children still go to school online. The problem in my household has been that we cannot exactly afford the best internet, so my children, 10 male, 12 female, 16 male, struggle to stay in the Zoom calls with their classes. My husband and I have been trying to budget a lot, so we can't afford anything better at the moment. Enter our neighbor who moved in about 2 years ago. They're fairly friendly and tend to mind their own business. I will call them A, a 28-year-old female, B, a 27-year-old male, and C, a 27-year-old male, for simplicity's sake. They appear to be a small group of video gamers who can afford very good internet. In fact, they could afford the best in our area. One day we were sharing a small talk, masks and 6 feet apart, and offered to let my children connect to their Wi-Fi, but only for the hours school was in session. I was elated and thanked her generosity. We had a short gathering where she connected their computers to her Wi-Fi and set a timer on it so it would automatically boot them off after they were done. This worked seemingly well for a while, and while I'm still thankful for her generosity, I began to ask if she wouldn't mind my children just going over to their house while they go to school. It would give me time to decompress and clean the house without them in the way, and I could run errands without having to worry about them. She said no. I asked her why. Her reasoning was simple, that she was happy to let us use her Wi-Fi, but she didn't want to be a babysitter. I told her I wasn't expecting her to be, and I wouldn't pay her for such. Her argument continued that if anything happened to my kids in her home, she would be on the chopping block for it, and I insisted that she was being ridiculous. And she said they don't call them accidents because you intend for them to happen. I admit I got a bit heated and said some rude things, but I just don't understand why her generosity was so conditional, and she could do just this simple thing to help out her neighbors. We argued a bit more, and she walked away. I became concerned, so I texted C, A's husband, and begged him to please let my kids keep using their Wi-Fi. He said A, the primary breadwinner, has no intention of punishing my children over what I said. I just asked a simple question that I felt was reasonable, but now my neighbors barely talk to me. But my husband and eldest son also think I overstepped my boundaries, and I did want a babysitter for free, but I don't think so. I think A misunderstood. Reddit, am I the jerk for simply asking? Alright, I'm going to leave these edits on screen for you to read if you so choose so, but they don't seem interesting. So, I think the obvious answer here is that yes, you're a jerk. Watching kids isn't one simple thing. It's a whole host of things. Like, you have to watch a kid, you have to make sure they don't get in trouble, you have to make sure they don't break things, you have to make sure that they are fed and that they're taken care of and that they, do all of these things. So it isn't one simple thing. And two, they shouldn't be your free babysitter. And I know that you're a busy person and that you want to get things done around the house and whatnot, but this makes the rash assumption that your neighbors are not busy during the daytime and have plenty of time to just sit and watch your children. Things are really frustrating right now and things are really hard right now, and I understand why you would want to decompress and not to have to spend all day every day around your kids. But that isn't your neighbor's problem, and you're trying to take your problems and make them your neighbor's problems. You weren't a jerk for asking and seeing if they would be willing, but where you kind of overstepped here was when you started prodding and trying to demand that she babysit your kids. I mean, I guess the expression, give an inch, take a mile, comes to mind here. Your neighbors gave you an inch and you're trying to take a mile. This goes well beyond the scope of the internet issue that you're having. Now you want them not only to have internet, but you also want to have a babysitter. I mean, I just think that you're really being entitled here, and I think that you're expecting way too much out of your poor neighbors. All right. Our last letter is titled, Am I a jerk for trying to get my boyfriend to stop his game streaming time and pick up more hours when his job offered them so he can actually start his career and make more money for himself? I'm a 24-year-old female and my boyfriend of 2 years, a 26-year-old male, just graduated college last year in December. He got a good job in the field, but it's only part-time. My boyfriend streams video games as a hobby. He does make some money from it, about $400 to $700 a month, but now that his job has offered him full-time if he wants, I talked to him about it and I told him that he would make more money if he did his job full-time. He's a programmer. I told him that he could still play video games, of course, but that he needed to start building his career because streaming really isn't something that people are big and successful at, usually, especially since he is an adult. He got really upset and told me he was trying to build his brand and grow his stuff, and that he was in the top 2% of Twitch streamers, which I'm pretty sure is not true, otherwise he would be making a lot more money, and that he really enjoyed it and he liked working part-time and streaming. He has in the past complained about being expensive and not being able to do certain things. I brought this up and he said it takes time to grow a business, even though he has already been doing it for a year and some change and only makes a small amount doing it still. I told him he could buy everything he wants, go on vacations, buy his computer, buy parts and everything if he worked full-time and still plays video games with his friends whenever. He again got upset and asked why I didn't support what he wanted to do, and that he only got a programming degree because it was a backup in case he needed it, and that he likes the community that he has built. We are not super tight on money or anything, and I don't want for anything. I make my own money. I just want him to be able to get everything that he wants and start working towards our future goals of house, children, and stuff. I told him that he needed to grow up and start adulting more. I think I was a bit harsh and I apologized, and I get that he really enjoys it, but as an adult, we have to make some sacrifices if we want to start a family, but now he hasn't talked to me in over a day and slept at his computer last night. I probably could have worded it better, but I'm worried he is going to stall his career and just be okay with video games and working part-time. Am I a jerk? So I think there's a lot going on here, and I certainly understand your concern. And it would be different if he was doing this as a full-time job and expecting you to pull all of the weight. But the fact of the matter is that he's earning money on the side and he's doing something he enjoys. And $400 to $700 isn't a small amount of money. So it sounds like he's doing pretty well for himself all in all. And yeah, maybe he could earn way more money as a full-time programmer, but programming isn't always necessarily the most interesting or fun. Money doesn't buy happiness. It sure sometimes helps. The fact of the matter is, at the end of the day, your boyfriend has to be happy with his decisions. If this is a major deal breaker for you, then I mean, you are welcome to set boundaries. You're welcome to say that you are looking for something else in a relationship, and you're welcome to move on. If you're happy with the relationship and you two are working out well, it might be worthwhile help supporting him and working with him to help his career in video games grow. And because software is such an in-demand field right now, it's unlikely he's ever going to get to the point where he's stalling his career or isn't going to have the option to go full-time. Your boyfriend could go full-time. It's would be easy for him. This is a choice he's made because he enjoys his part-time and the free time that he has on the side. And I understand where you're coming from here. You want him to be successful, you want him to be happy. But don't confuse your vision of happiness with what your boyfriend's vision of happiness is. I think really where you went wrong here is to tell him to grow up. Your boyfriend is, again, an adult. He's paying his bills. You folks have enough money to survive. You're doing well. It's not like you're wanting for anything. To tell him to grow up, that this aspiration for him to do something beyond his 9-to-5 job, I think is really mean. I think it's unsupportive, and I think that you need to do a better job. So yeah, you're a jerk. So I'm looking through some of the comments here, and there's some interesting ones. Apparently they live in a house that he inherited and he owns it. Okay, so now things are starting to get even more like bizarre here. So your boyfriend, who owns the house, who pays for everything except for groceries, has a fine job, does things part-time and also earns money on the side for streaming, and you're complaining. Now, I think you're being extraordinarily ungrateful here. He pays the bills except for groceries, which I do, but I only work part-time and I'm in school. And I'm not trying to change him, just trying to get him to understand it's not what he could potentially be doing with his career. Okay, so this person sounds very, very young, and they think they have things figured out. Your boyfriend is very well off set right now. Like, having a home, having, all your costs met. I mean, this is, the more I read here, the more it's like you're looking a gift horse in the mouth. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider giving me a thumbs up. If you didn't, consider giving me a thumbs down. Also, consider telling me why in the comments below, or just write a general comment below if you're so inclined. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, thanks to Amber. She picked these stories out for me today. I didn't have a whole lot of time. Things ran late for me today, so I really appreciate her taking the time to look up stories for me and go through them for me, because I would still probably be looking. So yeah, shout out to Amber. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow. But now my neighbors